labradorite. I love labradorite because it's really that psychic stone. For me, it's that pillar of light. It is magic in motion. It is all about strengthening your intuition across unfamiliar terrain. And then also there's jet, which is just a very ancient protective stone. It absorbs negative energy and it was historically worn by travelers. So I think jet is another fantastic idea. Welcome to Big Crystal Energy, Season 3, the Veil Season. I'm Ashleigh, and I live at the threshold. Between medicine and magic, between the visible world and what waits just beyond it, between the person I present and the witch I am. I've learned something. The in-between isn't a problem to solve. It's a place of power. This season, we're exploring the veil, where Victorian women spoke for the dead, where fairies guard the crossroads, where glamour becomes armor, where you stop apologizing for being both things at once. The crystals have always known the way through. Let me show you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Big Crystal Energy. I am recording this episode on Friday, May 15th. And I have to tell you all, I am feeling insufferable between going to see Florence and the Machine tonight, which she is Mother Witch, the Queen Witch, the Supreme Witch. I literally cannot handle it. I couldn't sleep. I have been watching way too much footage of her other concerts, which I need to stop because it's just taking away the mystery. But every time I watch footage from other shows that she's done elsewhere in the world, I start crying. So I keep warning my husband, just be prepared tonight for lots of dancing and lots of crying. Not to mention, my poor husband and I, we have not been on a date in a hot minute. And it's almost embarrassing to say how long it's been. It's been extremely, extremely long, to the point where it is quite embarrassing. I think our last date was to go see 9 Inch Nails, which was like 8 months ago. Oh my gosh, it is so challenging. Life gets in the way. We are busy. We have the kids. We had so much traveling this year. We have a lot going on. There are multiple projects that we're working on, that he's working on, and it doesn't really lend itself well to date nights. So when I was able to get tickets for Florence and the Machine, I said to myself, this is not a family event. This is an Ashleigh and John event, and I will get a babysitter. So I have the babysitter coming at 4:00, and I have my outfit all ready to go. By the time this episode comes out, you will have all seen my outfit if you follow me on social media, and I am very excited about it. It's a dress that I originally purchased probably 3 years ago, and I could never seem to find the right occasion to wear it. And then I was going to wear it when my husband and I renewed our vows in Iceland last June, but it's almost just like a black mesh. It's just like a black mesh dress with a lot of beading on the top, but it's see-through, it's thin. And so I thought, well, that's really just not going to work in Iceland. It's going to be way too cold for that. And so I decided to pick out a different dress. And even that dress was really damn cold in Iceland. Nothing really matters. No matter what you wear, you're going to freeze. So today seems like the perfect opportunity for me to wear this dress, and I am so thrilled. Also, if you are a Lady Gaga fan, you know that her Mayhem Requiem came out on Apple Music, and I have been listening to it on repeat since this morning. I haven't watched it yet because I just haven't had a chance, but I am literally insufferable today between Florence and the Machine and Lady Gaga, my two queens, my two supreme witches. Holy moly, you guys, it is a lot. It is a lot. I can't get anything done. The only thing I've really gotten done today is I took my dog to get her spa treatment. That's it. I am now just biding my time until it's time for me to get ready for the concert and for us to leave for San Francisco. So, anyway, that's not true. I put this episode together and I want to talk to you all since we're in May, since we're gearing up for the summer travels, family travels, all of the things. You guys know I'm a big traveler. I travel all over the world with my family. But I also feel that despite all of the travel, it is very important for me personally to stay connected to my spiritual journey, specifically when I'm traveling, because I often feel so much more connected when I'm in that liminal space of travel. And so this episode is really just sharing some of the things that I do. Take what you will from this episode. This is in no way saying that you have to do any of these things. Take what you like, leave what you don't like. Ask me questions, send me questions if you have any after this episode. It's just something that I thought would be a great time of year to share. I've done episodes on this before, so I could link my previous episode. I didn't go back and listen to my previous episode before recording this one, so there may be some redundancy. I'm not sure. I think that original episode came out maybe during the first year of the podcast, so it's an older episode, and I figured this is just something that would be a good topic to revisit anyway, because I've been getting requests about doing something like this. So I think that with travel coming up, this being the year of the veil, the year we're talking about liminal spaces, travel is definitely a portal, is definitely a liminal space. Let's do it. So, yes, travel for me is definitely this, it's a portal, right? It's a portal to a place that maybe I've been dreaming about, maybe that I've been really excited to go to for a while. And so that energy is high. The energy is already high when you get there, even if you're traveling with your family or if you're going by yourself or you're going on a trip with friends or whatever, that energy is so high. And I think it's a great time to harness that energy. Well, I call it my big crystal energy for obvious reasons, but um, I think it's a great time to harness that energy. And I often feel my most magical while I'm traveling, while I'm on a journey somewhere, because it's something that is so important to me. I didn't get to do a lot of traveling when I was younger because I was in school for a long time, undergraduate, master's program. Then life kicked in and my first jobs didn't really pay me very well. So I couldn't, and I didn't really get offered much vacation leave. So I couldn't really travel much. And my husband at the same time was going through the same thing as me because we met when we were in PA school. And then we had our kid, our first son, and then COVID hit and all this stuff. So a lot of this intense traveling hasn't really been going on for that long. I would say after the first year of COVID, after around probably 2021 is when we really started traveling again a bit more. And we would often travel to places that were more safe. We did a lot of camping during the COVID years because we could have our own space and we weren't cooped up. But then once all the COVID restrictions started lifting, we decided to start traveling out more. And then I became more connected to my spiritual practice. And I really wanted to take it on the road with me. And so that's what I've been doing. I used to travel with all kinds of stuff because I early on felt compelled to bring a lot of different things with me and crystals and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I realized, no, that's too much. We already overpack. I'm a chronic overpacker and I don't want to do that anymore. And so what I ended up doing was I found a little tin. I have two travel altars. One that I've been using for the longest time and one that I've just started using this year, which is actually even smaller, which is better for me. But I originally got a little tin and it had these cute little mushrooms on the top and I would put my little goodies in there and then I would take my tin with me. And so I think for me, the first thing that I like to do when I'm traveling is to have my portable altar, because having an altar is important to me in my practice. I have many altars around my house. My altars are different. They're for different things. And so specifically, I initially created one that was for travel. Now, the current altar that I use was partially created by me, and then also partially created by what someone I would consider, I mean, I consider her a spiritual mentor because I follow her work and I've been following her work for years, and I've gone to her retreat and I'm going to go to another one of her retreats and all of these things. And that is Marcella Kroll. So this particular tin travel altar that I have right here, this little black tin, is one that I got at Marcella's retreat that I attended in New Mexico back in February. Her retreat was called The Altar Within, and she had a couple of these tins for sale for different things. And so I chose this protection tin, which I think is I call it my protection travel tin, because I think we also need to have a little bit more protection when we are traveling, just because we are in situations that are often not familiar to us, and we're often places that are not familiar to us, and we don't always know all the different things. And so we have to have a heightened sense of protection, and we need to surround ourselves with a little bit more protection during that time. And so I picked up this tin from her, and I love it because it came with certain things, and then I also added a few other things into it that I like, that are personally mine. So let's see here. Yeah, so I picked up this tin at the retreat, and let me just go through what is in this particular travel altar for me. But as you can see, it's a pretty small tin. It's literally like, my hands are small. This is like the size of my hand, or smaller than the size of my hand. What I want to emphasize more than anything is you don't need it to have much. I think the main thing is finding things that you particularly connect with and creating your travel altar from there. The things that I'm offering here in my altar, some of them you may feel interested in, and some of them you may not feel interested in. So the first thing here is and this tin is already getting beat up because I took it with us to Asia. In it, she has this little protection. I would say it's a protection spell. It says, I think that she wrote this: protection. As I travel day or night, guide my steps with gentle light. Winds be kind and roads be clear. Protect me ever near. And I think that's really cool. So I'll set this all up I'll typically set up my little altar on my bedside table in the hotel or Airbnb or wherever we are staying, in a protected spot. But you want to put it somewhere where your kids aren't going to get into it if you have small kids. My kids don't really get into my altar stuff anymore because I have so much of this stuff around my house that it's not novelty to them. They just know it's mom's witchy stuff, and they're not really that interested in it. They're more interested in their own toys or whatever they have going on. And so the first thing in this is, this one has a black tea candle. The fire is the intention. You can have any kind of little flame that you may want. You don't necessarily have to have a tea candle, a tea light like this. You could have a white tea light. Sometimes in my other altar, I will just have those little charm candles, those small little skinny charm candles. That's fine. And sometimes if you're in a place where you can't really light the candle, just having the candle there in a symbolic way is cool too. As you can see, I haven't even lit this candle yet, because we've been to a lot of different places, and either I didn't have a lighter because they made such a big deal about that when we were traveling through the Philippines with lighters. That is another story for another time. So I didn't have a lighter, and so I just had it there as a memento, as as the intention of the flame. The other thing in here is some Florida water. Well, Marcella made this special Florida water herself, but Florida water is not hard to come by. You could go into probably any metaphysical shop and get some Florida water. It's great for protection, purification. It's great this is a spray. So if you're going into a space, at a hotel or Airbnb or whatnot, you might want to spray the area, kind of like a a cleansing spray, space clearing spray, just to make you feel like you're, you know, especially in hotels and Airbnbs and stuff, there's a lot of energy in there, right? You're staying somewhere where probably potentially thousands of other people have shared that space. And how often are people clearing that space? Not too often. So I like to clear the space because I want the space to feel good for me and my family. Now, something special that I have in my little tin here is this black obsidian carved ghosty. I found this when I was at the retreat in New Mexico. They had a little gift shop at the motel where we stayed. And this little ghosty was just someone that needed to come home with me. And I love having it in my travel space because it reminds me, well, the black obsidian is great for just protection in general. It's the ghost carries that kind of liminal energy, that spooky vibe, which I just kind of like to personally, I just like to have that vibe with me all the time. It's just fun for me. Now, another thing that I have in my tin is perfume. This particular fume is by Heretic. It's called Ectoplasma. I just like it because it's a little bit of glamour magic, and glamour magic is also important to me. It gives me that elevated energy to just feel my best. And so I'll just give myself a little squirt of this travel size perfume. It doesn't have to be this particular one. This is just one that I specifically put energy around for travel. So it's running, as you can see, it's running low. So probably only a couple more trips and I'll have to put a different one in there. And this set came with, oh, I forgot my evil eye. Yeah, sorry, I'll get back to that. It came with an Apache tear, which is a little type of, it's a different form of obsidian. And this one is very much associated with protection and safe return. And Apache tear, this particular stone, not this particular one, but the Apache tear has been a stone that's always been really important to me because it's one of the first stones that I ever had. It's one of the first stones that ever came into my world when I was a kid. My dad got me an Apache tear crystal from a Witchy store in Nebraska. I still have that particular stone. And so it's just meaningful to me. Also in this set is a little evil eye, which is another type of protection. And some people will have bracelets that have the evil eye or a necklace. I like all those options too. So this is just a little bead, but it could also be that you have it on your jewelry. I think that's a great option. Sometimes if your tin is too small and you have certain things that you like as jewelry, I think having protective talismans or protective jewelry when you travel is really important as well. And I have certain pieces that I like for that. I don't have them with me right now, but that is a great option. Another thing that came in this particular box is the Santa Muerta. She is a folk saint from Mexican spiritual tradition, and she is often depicted holding a scythe and a globe, but she's definitely not a symbol of evil or dark magic or anything like that. She's really a guardian of transitions, and she stands at this threshold between the living and the dead. Now, that's not to say that when you're traveling, you're going from living to dead. Certainly not. But I think it's that transitional energy, that passageway energy that we most often experience when we are traveling. And so I like this particular piece in my box. And then also, I'm not exactly sure what this is, but it's some sort of little seed or something that I got when I was on that retreat. And I just thought it was really interesting. And I should have looked up what it was ahead of this episode, but I didn't. But sometimes I like to have little things of nature on my altar. And I'll get to this later, but if I don't have something, typically if I'm traveling, I will find some little thing to add to my travel altar. Okay. What else? I made some notes and then, Like I printed out some notes and then it just printed out a lot of redundant paper. Okay, so where are the notes? It just shot out all this blank paper. Okay. The other thing that you could think about if you have a deity or a guide or an archetype or something that you work with, maybe bring that with you. If maybe it's Santa Muerta, but maybe it's a deity that I'm working with now, Hecate. Maybe you have a little statue or something that you feel called to bring with you, or a card. You could have it on a little card, or maybe you have a sigil that you like, or some little image or jewelry or whatever. That is a physical anchor that you can bring with you on your travels. And I like bringing this altar with me because then I don't have to feel like I'm starting from scratch. Now, let's say you're traveling and you forget your little travel altar at home. I mean, there's easy little things that you can find out in nature or as you're traveling, and you could create your own one on the go too. I mean, that's an option as well. But what are things, so if you're going to be setting up your own altar, it's nice to think to yourself, what are different things that you work with? Are there deities? Are there spiritual guides that you work with? What would be the smallest, most portable representation of that relationship that you could carry with you? Maybe it's a sticker that you haven't taken the sticky part off on the back. Maybe it's on a card. Maybe it's a little picture or something. You don't necessarily have a statue, because the problem with the statue is that it could be hard to fit in the tin, and then it might be floating loosely around in your bag, and then it could get damaged or broken, something like that. You don't have to have that specific thing. You could have a representation, and that is honestly just as meaningful. And there's not one right travel deity to work with. I would say whatever you normally feel called to work with, bring that with you. I don't necessarily think that when you're traveling and you're in that liminal space of travel, I mean, maybe for you, it's a great time to start working with something new. But for me, I like to just stick with the things that I already know, because I feel like travel can already feel very disruptive. So having that anchor point of things that are well known to me actually feels good, rather than me trying to scramble to figure out someone new to work with, some new spiritual being to communicate with. It's best to just go back. For myself, it feels best just to go back to the things that I know and that I've already connected with. The other thing that can be fun to do when you're traveling, especially if you're traveling somewhere that has a lot of natural resources, would be to find leaves or little bits of flowers or small baubles to add to your collection or to place on your altar, because these items can then also hold the story of where you went. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that before you're taking certain things, you want to make sure that you're communicating with the land, with the spirits of the land, to see if it is okay for you to take those items. Because sometimes it is okay and sometimes it is not okay. I know, for example, when we were in the Philippines, I can't remember if I mentioned this on the previous podcast episode about the Philippines or not, but we were on a beach and my husband found this small piece of animal jawbone, and he knew that it would be something that I would be interested in. And so he kind of buried it because he thought someone else might want it too from the beach. I'm like, I highly doubt that. But anyway, I made sure that when I held the piece of bone, it looked very old. Like it had been, like there were teeth in it, and then there was the bone, and it looked like it had been bleached by the sun. It had probably been there for a very long time. But I also made sure that I just sat with it for a bit, and I asked the land if it would be okay for me to take that piece of bone home as a piece of the journey of the trip and something to connect me back to that time. And what I felt was a sense of calmness. I felt this beautiful breeze blow through the trees there on the beach. And it just felt like this, yes, it is okay for you to take this and be respectful of this piece and make sure that you put it in a respectful place when you get home. And I did. I had it like packed up very nice. When we got back home after our trip, I put it on my altar and I've cleansed it and I've done blessings with it and things like that. And now it feels very nice in that space. But it's something that I'm never going to forget, right? I'm never going to forget that time when we were on that particular beach in El Nido outside of the island of Palawan. We found that piece of bone, and now I'll always have that connection to that trip and that moment and that time. But it could be whatever you find. Maybe you find some really cool stone or rock or pebble or some sort of beautiful flower that you want to press, or maybe you find a really cool postcard or something. Whatever it is, anything you can make anything feel magical, truth be told. So that's one of the things that I really love. That's one of the things I love the most about traveling is finding these little bits and baubles and taking a few little things home. From the Philippines, we also took a few seashells that we found. We didn't take much. They don't want people decimating the beach and taking all the seashells. Of course, we did not, but we took a few little tiny pieces, and made sure that it was okay before we took them. Now, if you are starting from scratch, I would say, why don't you get the tin and then start with 5 things that maybe you want to bring with you. You don't have to bring all of these different things like I do. Start with 5 things. And these are the things that maybe you want to ask yourself while you're creating your travel altar. What is something that represents protection to you? What is something that represents your home or grounding? What is something that is small to burn or to anoint? Do you have a candle? Do you have some sort of special oil, Florida water, incense? I love taking incense with me. That is another thing that I typically do take. I also am very big on taking a small tarot or oracle deck. The typical tarot deck that I have is it's a Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck, traditional tarot deck, but it's really small. I don't know where it is. It's in one of my bags. So I have this other little this one is called the teeny tiny tarot deck. Because honestly, a tarot deck can be, sometimes they're heavy and big. So this one is the teeny tiny tarot deck. But the imagery on this one is different. So this one might be a little bit more challenging to use than the traditional imaging of the Rider-Waite-Smith. But even so, it's got all 78 cards, and then it has a little booklet. I picked this teeny tiny tarot deck up as a gift, and I have just not gifted it yet. I got it from the gift shop at the Winchester Mystery House. I don't know. I don't know who's going to get lucky and receive this tarot deck one of these days, but that's an option. And the other thing I think that is super important is a journal. Do you have a travel journal that you like to take, or do you just have your regular journal? This journal is pretty much my journal for everything. And this journal I got at a metaphysical shop in San Jose del Cabo in Mexico. Was it last year? Yeah, last year. And I love this. I love the eye on the front. It just looks super magical. And then it's got the gold gilt edge and, the little string there. So that's my go-to. And then, of course, incense. I'm trying to think if I missed anything else. I think that's pretty much it. So don't think you need a lot of things. Don't try to go overboard. When you are traveling, it can get very chaotic. I know for myself, it is often very chaotic because we have the kids, we're sharing a small space. Try to find a little bit of time for yourself every day, even if it's 10 minutes. Maybe try to just get away for a 10-minute walk. One of the things that is helpful for me when we travel, and my husband is very good about it because he knows that I need space at times, he really doesn't need space, but I do. I need space. I need space to charge my battery. But what he often does, if we're staying somewhere that has a swimming pool, he will take the boys down to go swimming. And either I'll have that quiet time in the room, or I'll go take a walk, or I'll go down to the pool and sit at a table and do my journaling or whatever while he's swimming with the boys. And that gives me my little bit of space, because truth be told, it is hard sometimes when you're on the go to find the time to sit down and work with your travel altar. And it doesn't have to be for a long period of time. Literally 5 or 10 minutes is all you need. But to me, it's just having that routine of the spiritual practice every day that makes me feel grounded, and it kind of clears my mind, and I set my intentions for the day and the energy that I want to feel for the day, and how I want to show up as a mom, and how I want to show up as a wife, and how I want to feel in that moment when we're traveling, and what I'm excited about. And it gives me that time to just kind of think about all of those things, because travel is stressful. It is. I mean, even if you're traveling by yourself, there are stresses, because you're constantly trying to figure out where you're going, what you're going to eat, where you're going to be, where you're going to stay, how you're going to get places. And having that baseline of unfamiliar stress, it is nice to have a way to come back to yourself and ground. And the best thing is, especially if my travel altar is this small, I mean, I can throw this in my purse and I can take it with me anywhere. And nothing in there has ever really gotten damaged, which is nice. So you want to make sure that your tin or whatever it is that you're traveling with, the lid really snaps on, because you don't want it to pop open and things to break. A couple other things that you could consider if you're thinking about wanting to bring some crystals with you. I'll offer a few options that I think are personally very good for travel. I have 2 options of I have the black obsidian in mine, which is great for protection, shadow work, and kind of that psychic shield. Apache tear is a different type of obsidian. It's really good for alchemizing grief. Maybe you're traveling because you have to go to a funeral, or because, whatever that grief state may be, or maybe you're going through something personally that's causing you distress. Having that Apache tear is something that can be very grounding. Smoky quartz is also great. That's super grounding during transitional periods. It's very good to help calm anxiety. Labradorite, I love labradorite because it's really that psychic stone. For me, it's that pillar of light. It is magic in motion. It is all about strengthening your intuition across unfamiliar terrain. And then also there's jet, which is just a very ancient protective stone. It absorbs negative energy, and it was historically worn by travelers. So I think jet is another fantastic idea. And I have done Crystal Library episodes about all of those stones: black obsidian, smoky quartz, labradorite, and jet. The only one I have not done a Crystal Library episode about is Apache tear, so that will probably have to come out. And maybe try to find that small little Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck like I have. It comes in a yellow box, and it's really tiny like that, but at least the imagery is the traditional imagery, whereas this teeny tiny tarot deck, the imagery, I feel like it's really hard to interpret. What else? I think that's good. I think that's enough. I hope you liked this episode. I thought it would be really helpful going into this time of year. And these are all things that this is what I do. This is my practice. This is how I do things. Very simple, to the point, no bells or whistles. And if you have any questions, please reach out. I would love to share more, hear what you guys are doing, hear what you have in your travel altar. Have you ever had a travel altar before? Is this a new concept for you? Give me the scoop. And with that, bye. Thank you so much for spending this time at the threshold with me. If you want to go deeper, follow me on Instagram at mystical.mama.ash, where I share daily crystal magic and behind the scenes of this liminal life. You can also find resources, previous episodes, and ways to work with me at bigcrystalenergy.com. We're also on YouTube at Big Crystal Energy Podcast. And if this episode resonated with you, please rate it and review it and share it with a friend that you think would connect with it. It would mean so much to me in helping build this beautiful community of other magical friends and crystal workers. Thank you so much. Until next time, bye.